Hello War of the Visions community, I am Jackie Fox, and today we're going to be talking about Arena, and this is kind of going to go hand in hand with the recent Arena top Arena meta rankings video, and you're going to see a lot of that here, and how that kind of could line up with some GB teams that you might use. This is probably the team that I've invested the most in. I would say there's probably about 100 reincarnations between the three of them, which might not be a lot for some people, but it's quite a lot for me. So these guys have been really invested in well, and this isn't necessarily the equipment that I prefer for them. We'll get to that a little bit later in the video as I tinker around and get used to this Arena map, but you'll see that this is actually quite the powerful team, and it can take on any number of things, including a team like that, but we'll face that a little bit later in the video. For right now though, I want to show you this team. I found this really interesting because I see Edward is kind of a little bit of the off unit here, but I see often Alaya, when she can get under Glaciela's aura, her kind of cover area ability, shielding, then she's really dangerous because she's hard to take off the board and she's just really brutal. And just other things that make Alaya like a super potent unit. She probably has the best way yet of getting rid of re-raise, and that is being able to give your allies the ability to remove re-raise, the way that Edward, for instance, can give allies the ability to remove protect. But this is huge, and it really screws with some teams, and ooh, Alphonse is like, yeah, no, I'm not taking that damage. He does get hit pretty hard by Alaya, but look, like standing right up there with her, barely taking any damage from AoE attacks at all. Let's see what we can do with single target. Not much more, but we're kind of in business. There we go, single target versus everybody. That was the stag impact, but it didn't slow them down enough. Their return stag impact wiped most of my team. See if we can get them this time. No, we have courage and a little bit more HP. And again, standing there within that aura is really helping them tank through this. And as you can see, they don't have much HP left. Like, this was a really close match, and I really feel like that aura was what kept them in there. Which is not to say that this is like an unbeatable combination. As you can see in this video, I have a slightly different matchup. And it's really weird how many good synergies there are for splashing a lightning unit onto a water team right now, or a water unit onto a lightning team right now. Both elements are incredibly strong, and the only thing, the thing that's really holding water back from being just like a stunningly powerful element is just how strong lightning is as well. In some ways, I think water might actually be more well-rounded. But for lightning, they have Alaya. And if you haven't noticed yet, stag impact is a big deal. It, when in range, it can hit from a long range. Like, this is a strike attack with an incredible range. And we can give this girl 4 move, as I showed you from the build with Operative's Intuition. So, boom, she's just getting in here and attacking their entire party. But in addition to that, she's lowering their CT and canceling their abilities. So, for characters that have ability cast times, this is a big problem for them. You have to get that down to 0, but I also feel like, in another way, the impetus to have to get those characters down to 0, the equipment slots, the buffing time, the trust stone passive that you had to roll for and slot into this gear, all of that stuff to get them instant. All of that is ways that you could be building them up in different ways, that opportunities that you can't take. because you have to build for the very real possibility that your abilities will get canceled before they're even properly cast. So that's, you know, that's really tough. And again, she can cancel the whole squad's stuff. So ability cancellation, like jamming thrust, is always a powerful skill, but like the ability to jamming thrust their entire team with the widest range and AoE that has ever been seen in the game, other than Omnilus, who has kind of like an equally ranged skill, with a casting time, most importantly, with a casting time that gets really screwed by Stag Impact. But it's not even that, that's just part of it. Because what's really scary about this is the CT down ultimately. Because that CT down is going to help their entire team lap you. So that's kind of what my team is set up to do. Alphonse is about as fast as I could get him, more or less. Somewhere around 100 speed. He is my tank in the center so that they can run and buff to him. I can alternate which one of the girls is the fastest. The idea of making Perrene the fastest, which is what I'm running with now, is that CT down is going to benefit my entire team, especially when it hits their entire team. This is a lot like Valentine's Ildria's buff, but like LB, but spammable, and with really, really, really wild range. So if you have that consistently making the entire opposing team slower, and you have, it seems like Perrene has the most lapping potential because if she is fast and she has CT up, then she can really lap people, and being supported by Alaya, that could get really nuts. But I think just Alaya being as impactful as she is, you go for the more speed on Alaya, and then let Perrene catch up with all of those things and let them dominate the field together. But one of the things I'm trying to do here as well, and when it works, it's really amazing, is getting Drain Glyph off on both of them and allowing them all to restore HP through attacking, which is just really great for a brawlery team like this that's trying to do damage, and sustain itself, especially since few of them have heals other than Perrene. So, you know, that's really helpful for them, and I think a great addition to their buff rotation. Other than that, I haven't necessarily decided what TMRs I like on them, except that I like to have them very fast. So that really colors my opinion on what you should use for them. But as you can see, even against Lightning, it's particularly hard to mess with Summer Glaciella, even, well, at least for physical units. There are a lot of ways in which a magical unit might be able to better penetrate her defenses, but they don't really exist in the meta right now, so it's not a big deal. You can also see how, like, they're brutally resisting most of my team, and then Alaya comes in there and just, like, board wipes pretty much. But you can also see how important, you know, healing can be for the other team, and how important it can be for me to get healing power down with Vortex Kick off from Perrene as well. It's also kind of important, since there's a little bit of haste within the team too, that I be able to also slow some of their units with Alphonse's Limit Break. So this was an interesting light and dark team, I think, that uses all S tier units. So that ought to be pretty fun to go up against. I'm not going to say very much. I'm just going to let that one play out and let you enjoy, as we are getting towards the end of this particular team. And as we get to the end, I'll show you its meta ranking both in high tier and casual.
Darkness, be my strength. I won't hold back. I owe you. I'll show them. I'm grateful. I shall feel one. I'm sorry, John. the purest water.
My sympathy.
Darkness, be my strength. Goodbye.
抗ってみろ。
負けられない。
Breathe in. Focus.
Here.
I don't feel weak.
Goodbye. This is.
Brace yourself!
I'm sorry.
Okay, so finally a question that you might be asking yourself, and a thing that you might have heard, is that this team can beat Earth teams. And yes, it's true, they can. It's not even because of my off-unit Perrene, even though she would arguably have the better matchup of them against the Earth units, just, you know, looking at it broadly from space. No, actually, this whole team does alright here. I'm not going to say it's their best matchup, and yes, it may be because some of the units here are a little less meta, but this is a team that can very capably take Earth teams when, you know, when you would least expect it. So it's a really competitive and very, very powerful team that I think is going to be dominant for a while until some answers start to be found and some ways of countering it start to emerge.
Brace yourself!
It's time to end this.
Goodbye.
I don't feel weak.
Great help.
I'm sorry.
This is like
Breathe in. Focus.
Goodbye. Oh, what a relief.
Okay, here's another featured fight that I want to show you when I got high up in the ranks. Bartz, old Daddy Bar. One of my first guild leaders here in War of the Visions, and someone whose guidance has kind of shaped my vision of this game to this day, and someone who I can still find in the top ranks being awesome, and I can always count on for a good fight. So once again, we're going to be seeing one of those lightning and water teams, this time with a little bit more water versus earth, so kind of the inverse of the fight that we just saw. And well, Bar, take it away. As you can see, one of the best counterparts for water for Summer Glaciella is probably Velis, being a really strong offensive healer, whereas Summer Glaciella can be a strong offensive tank. So they kind of bring a bunch of offense between the both of them, but splash in really some of the best tanking in the game, and like one of the only competitions for AoE tanking in the game. But also just really great offensive heals as well. But let's see some more fights with Rinoa and the Earth team, and oops, I think I recorded a little late on that one. Let's try another Lightning team. They just go down so quickly. Now, Rinoa is quite an accelerator, so getting the Adventurous Bandana onto Zazan here so that he can provide luck and, luck and agility, and then also get haste on himself. He is going to be pretty evasive as far as the modifiers go for him. Not the most evasive unit in the world, and he already has the ability to give himself haste, but this is a really good combo for him. But at least in some of the first few fights here, you're going to see one of the drawbacks potentially to Rinoa placement and Rinoa AI. Giving her a single target TMR buff is usually a bad thing. You want to give her something that's going to encourage her to keep up with people, because she might stand in place like a lot of supports are prone to. She doesn't necessarily have the offensive move forward AI, unfortunately. So a little bit like Velis in that regard, a little bit more than I would have liked her to be. But at the same time, you know, that's just something that you have to know about her. It also influences where you place her. Often you want characters to run by her so that she keeps up with them and doesn't get isolated early on. If you put her off to a side, especially with a unit that runs away from her in the middle, then she can just corner herself super early on and just stay there and be completely useless in the end game, more or less. But one thing I will say about her is that she is a lot more durable than you would expect her to be. I mean, I usually expect her to go down turns before she does, but she doesn't. She's actually pretty sturdy. And that's pretty great for a hard-hitting, supportive character like this. Alaya, as I said, has kind of given Vega a little bit of space to come back. So let's see what that's like. And Alphonse is really the best tank that Lightning has right now, which is only slightly unfortunate. It means the 90 cost tank, you could do worse. He is, of like the newer tanks, the 4 of them that they are, he is certainly the weaker of them. But that's one of the only things really holding Lightning back at this point. They have great everything else. And with Resnick, they have an amazing healer. We'll probably get to see her a little bit later on. But let's see what Earth does against the really dominant Water team right now. Hopefully Evasion can help us. I'm not really sure. We might just have trouble getting through them. But I do like the way she hastes up the boys like really well early on. Just gets haste on the entire team very quickly. Okay, we lost that one. So let's go back to Lightning where we know we can win. The one thing, at least most of the time, oh, and here's our Resnick. But one thing that I would like to point out is that there is certainly going to be a lot of lightning, especially the higher up you go. So the consistency of Earth, even though some of its parts might be a little bit lacking, and I have by no means the ideal Earth team. You really want Dialdo on this team as well instead of Zazan. Zazan is a little bit low rate for what's going on right now. And you might even be able to make an argument that Katone would be better. Katone doesn't do as much as Zazan does. Zazan does a little less than I want him to already. But in terms of being an evasion curveball, I think Katone would be stronger. So let's check ourselves against maybe a more meta Earth team as well. Alright, just barely got them, and in that time it felt kind of like Zazan was pulling it out for us. And forgot to record that first match, but the second match is a very similar team. We'll see how that goes. And I want to say before we get to some of the later parts of the video, thank you everyone so much for tuning in today. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I really appreciate having you around. And I hope you appreciate my insights on War of the Visions, and I hope you learned something from this. Like, I put a lot of time into recording these and editing them down, just hoping that you'll see something in these team compositions, either the ones that I'm facing or the ones that I'm using that will help you, or you just feel cool to get to see yourself on YouTube. Sometimes it's your team I'm fighting, and if that was you, if this is your team, you're doing great. Good job. Congratulations. If it's not your team, well, you have to like the video then, for sure. If this is your team, you have to subscribe, though. You can like and subscribe either way, but please do. And also remember, there is a link in the description. Let me show you that. If you were charmed, this is what I would want you to do. This is how you could best support me. Check out this link in the description. Here, I'll put it on the screen for you right here. This is going to lead you to the rest of the Jackie Fox Media Empire, all of my books, podcasts, YouTube channels, all that kind of stuff. Ways that you can meet me on Discord, things like that, and books that you could purchase. I am, oh man, this year does not run out of great ideas for the third book. I'm really excited for the final part of the trilogy that I'm working on writing at the moment. I'm editing the second part and working on the cover for the hardback version. I'm putting a little bit more work into that than I thought I would, but I'm going to have that done by the end of the month so that you would be able to purchase that. I'm going to make it look real nice for you to justify the cover price for the hardback. So if you would like to check that stuff out, thank you so much, and let's get back into it. And we're going back a little bit in time, and I really appreciated the limited guild battle, the way that this worked, the way that it removed Specifically, the way that it removed visual refills from the game entirely. You could still have orb refills, that kind of thing. You can make those a scarce enough resource that you couldn't go hard every week, that you would have to pick and choose your battles, or maybe wail for the spheres or something. But like, just the pay to win aspect of it for the Viz restore was just really aggravating, even though you often made some of your Viz back. I really enjoyed this map, and it was one that allowed me to use Yoichi's Bowtie, which is kind of the neutral hate, but all the advantages of the Bowtie, keeping Eliza back, although unfortunately not back enough for this particular fight. And also the low range on Alaya as well, to kind of keep them back and turn this mid-range map into a map that ranged units would win on. Although, unfortunately, this brings me to a topic that I'm going to have to get into a bit more later in the video, but missile units are just not doing really good right now, and unfortunately, my Yoichi's Bowtie team is kind of bearing the brunt of that a little bit. We aren't losing all of our matches, and like, you know, there are still ways that we win, but it's just like, there's so many drawbacks to so many of the things that we do, and we're so incredibly squishy when we do finally get in range, that it's like, you know, we need to do more damage. I know I say that after like Alaya wipes a lot of this team in one hit, but if more missile units were like Alaya, that would be great. Also, you'll notice that some of the higher tier missile units, gunners specifically, can shoot over things, or like magic gunners or special types of gunners that, you know, to make exception to the rules. So, you know, the rules for gunners, the shooting people in the back, having to shoot really flat, all of those things, those are so bad that if you actually do line up in range with them, like, they need better debuffs or better effects. They need CG down on a lot of their skills, or just like, I don't know, man, but they need like to be a lot better. Maybe there needs to be like a missile unit free vision card that's just redonkulously powerful, that works for like bow and missile and maybe nothing else. But is just like everything that you want, but also kind of insanely specific. I don't know what you want, like defense penetration 40 for the team. if you're a missile unit, but also missile resistance penetration like 35. Yeah. And some agility. Also in cool names, Addison Rain, one of my favorites. If this was you, come up and collect your prize for one of the coolest names other than Kitty Crusher later in the video. There's some good ones in here. But yeah, basically with missile units, there's so many downsides, especially to gunners, but there aren't really any exceptional upsides. I mean, especially when you have a unit like Alaya who can just use 4 move, run out in the middle of things, be durable, be powerful, and have far more incredible range than long range units. Like, what we need is some super long range multi-target skills. That's really what we need. And I think it wouldn't be that hard to do, because targeting is a big issue for either sides of this. But also there needs to be a vision card. I mean, there's only like 2 or 3 bow vision cards to begin with, and there's only 1 bow and gunner vision card together, and that one unfortunately is a limited vision card, so it's not incredibly friendly, you could say. And then looking at some more footage here, we're going to look at a combination team of Raph and Addison Ray and Sephiroth. Unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of time to build this particular account up, so it's not as well rounded, and it's also a lot newer. So this guy is kind of fighting with the newbie disadvantage, but let's see what we can do. And Sephiroth nails him with, oh, okay, Sephiroth versus Slime. Let's see if Slime can take Sephiroth. I don't think it's going to happen. Definitely got punched out there. So we won this one, at least. And the last team I'm going to be showing you today is what I call my light freemium team, in that it's basically the free team that I took into number 1 in Arena, at least for a lot of the time. I didn't finish in number 1, unfortunately, but I was trying. It's 2 out of 3 of the same units, and my re-raise offense unit has been upgraded to Wing and Stern. Big upgrade over Lock, but works basically just as well, if not a whole lot better, with pretty much all the units here. Better AoE skills to chain with the follow-up skill from Bartz, and also like just a better DPS unit, and even kind of more survivability in some ways than Locke, in that he's not putting as many eggs into the basket of evasion, but is also taking things out a little bit faster, where Locke feels a little bit more like a mosquito sometimes. But we've seen this team, anybody who watches this channel has seen this team extensively. We know this team can win, so I don't have much more to say about that, except that, yep, Wing and Stern definitely feels like quite the upgrade. And with that, that is the last I'm going to be saying for this video. I'm still going to be here in the live chat if you're watching this live, so ask me any questions if you got them about any of these teams, any of the setups, and I'll be happy to answer that for you. If not, feel free to watch another video after this one. Like, subscribe, check out the link in the description, the link I'm going to be putting at the end of the video here in just another couple of minutes. And you know, I thank you so much, and I thank you even more if you bought a book. And if you do buy a book, tell me which one, tell me in the comments, and let me love that comment, man. But also tell me what you think of the book. You know, give me some feedback. Tell other Final Fantasy fans whether they be into it, whether the writing is up to what they might expect, or whatever. And with all that being said, I found Dr. Doom. These were some of the funniest names. I wasn't necessarily fighting the best teams with my light team because, you know, we've already seen it a dozen times before. I was fighting teams with some of the funniest names. So if you have some of these funny names, let me know that this was your team salad ass in the comments. But if it wasn't, or if you are salad ass, or even if you aren't, I'll see you in the next one.